Imagine a world where cancer is not a death sentence, but just another chronic illness, managed, contained, and maybe even cured. Every year, the biggest minds in oncology gather to unveil the secrets moving us closer to that reality. This year at the American Society of Clinical Oncology, or ASCO, the conference halls buzzed with something astonishing, a new wave of miracle drugs with the power to rewrite the future for millions. But here's the twist. These breakthroughs promise hope, but also threaten to leave most patients behind. Who really wins in this race for innovation, and who gets left out? Let's set the stage. Cancer, a word with the power to terrify, frustrate, and inspire. Globally, it kills nearly 10 million people every year, and the costs, financial, emotional, societal, are staggering. But the landscape of cancer treatment is evolving faster than ever. At ASCO 2025, pharmaceutical giants like Pfizer, Gilead, and AstraZeneca all brought data that could upend how we think about cancer care. ASCO isn't just another medical conference. For researchers, clinicians, investors, and most importantly, patients, it's the Olympics of cancer science. Over decades, this gathering has fueled revolutions, from the first curative chemotherapies in the 20th century to today's highly targeted, genetically guided treatments. Behind the scenes, regulatory authorities like the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and the National Cancer Institute, NCI, scrutinize every new approach, while hospital systems and insurers brace for the impact of each new therapy. Just listen to Dr. Sarah Tallaney from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. These results are an important advancement for patients with PD-L1 positive metastatic triple-negative breast cancer, a population for whom first-line options remain limited. Her excitement is palpable, and for good reason. For decades, triple-negative breast cancer has been one of oncology's most stubborn, lethal adversaries. So, what exactly happened at this year's ASCO? Why is there so much excitement and so much anxiety in the air? Let's start with some of the groundbreaking science unveiled. In the ASCENT-04 trial, researchers combined Trodelvy, an antibody-drug conjugate, with Keytruda, a powerful immunotherapy. The result? A stunning 35% reduction in the risk of disease progression or death compared to existing treatments for a subset of breast cancer patients. For some, this could mean months or even years of extra life. Meanwhile, over in prostate cancer research, the 5-year results from the ARCHES trial rocked the room. Xtandi, paired with androgen deprivation therapy, slashed the risk of death by 30% in men with metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer. What's especially thrilling is the longevity of benefit. Dr. Andrew Armstrong of Duke Cancer Institute remarked, "Historically, the likelihood of survival at 5 years for men with metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer was low, but with advancements, this is now becoming the standard." These aren't isolated victories. Pfizer, flush with resources after reshaping its cancer division, declared plans to launch up to 9 pivotal Phase 3 trials in 2025 alone, targeting some of the world's deadliest malignancies. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca and Gilead are doubling down on a new generation of drugs. These include antibody-drug conjugates, ADCs, bispecific antibodies, and cell therapies, all with the potential for greater precision and fewer side effects. Let's be clear, the science is dazzling. Imagine a drug that acts like a molecular guided missile, attaching itself only to cancer cells and delivering a toxic payload with surgical precision. That's the promise of ADCs. Add immunotherapy, where the body's own defenses are coaxed to attack tumors, and the possibilities seem limitless. But let's pause and ask, can these miracles reach everyone who needs them? The answer, unfortunately, is complicated. For every new treatment, there's the shadow of cost, infrastructure, and accessibility. Many of these drugs have 6-figure or even 7-figure price tags. Even when they work, how many patients, in how many countries, actually get the chance to try them? The Magnetis MM6 study, for example, showed that combining Elrexfio with other drugs offered new hope for multiple myeloma patients ineligible for stem cell transplants. Yet such combination therapies could be financially out of reach for whole health systems, especially outside wealthy nations. It's a tragic paradox. Science delivers, but economics denies. And then there's logistics. The real-world study on Yescarta, a CAR T-cell therapy for lymphoma, shows that outpatient administration is now safe, effective, and, crucially, more affordable. As Dr. Fatiha Furkan at MD Anderson observed, outpatient administration of axi-cel has cost-effective advantages over inpatient treatment, including less burden on hospitals. But how quickly can the expertise and facilities for these innovative treatments spread beyond elite cancer centers? All this progress is powered by a deeper understanding of cancer's genetic and molecular drivers. Precision medicine, once a buzzword, is becoming standard. Genomic profiling and advanced biomarker tests are guiding therapy decisions, tailoring treatments to the genetic fingerprints of each patient's tumor. That might sound high-tech, but it's already changing real lives. But here's where optimism collides with reality. Advanced diagnostics and targeted drugs require robust infrastructure, specialized labs, and highly trained personnel. Even in wealthy countries, not every hospital is equipped for this. Then we look to the future. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are poised to revolutionize the search for new treatments. Imagine AI-driven drug discovery, personalized trial design, and the ability to predict which patients will respond best to which drugs. It seems science fiction, but at ASCO, these technologies are already starting to shape tomorrow's therapies. Pfizer's Oncology Chief Development Officer Johanna Bendel puts it simply, as the only androgen receptor inhibitor demonstrating sustained 5-year survival in this patient population, these data further reinforce Xtandi combined with androgen deprivation therapy as the standard of care for treating this advanced disease. The bar for what is considered a miracle in cancer therapy keeps getting higher, but so too does the price tag. Here's the heart of the conflict. Pharmaceutical companies pour billions into research, hoping to unlock that next blockbuster drug. Investors demand returns, regulators demand safety and efficacy, insurers and governments worry about costs, and patients just want to live, or at least live better. So we have a race. On one side, the relentless march of scientific innovation, driving treatments that were unimaginable a decade ago. On the other, grim economic realities, sky-high drug costs, health systems under strain, and the risk that only the privileged will benefit from tomorrow's breakthroughs. And the landscape is shifting under our feet. Take the example of the Braftovi study. After gaining accelerated FDA approval for metastatic colorectal cancer in late 2024, new Phase 3 data at ASCO solidified its role. But with each new approval, stakeholders face wrenching questions. Will payers reimburse the cost? Will the data hold up in the real world? Can hospitals keep up with training and logistics? The competition isn't just for scientific prestige, but for market share and ultimately, survival in the high-stakes world of pharma. Just look at Pfizer's aggressive portfolio expansion, or Gilead's strategic pipeline of novel antibodies and cell therapies. It's a game with trillions of dollars and millions of lives on the line. At the same time, we're entering an era where the right treatment depends not just on the kind of cancer, but on the genetic quirks of each patient's tumor. That's fantastic news from a scientific point of view, but it puts pressure on healthcare systems to offer expensive, complex genetic testing at scale. How quickly can these advances diffuse from the ivory towers of research hospitals to the clinics and communities where most patients are actually treated? And what about the rest of the world? In low and middle-income countries, even the idea of first-line access to these miracle therapies is still a fantasy. For all the talk at ASCO about universal hope, economic and policy realities mean the gap between rich and poor continues to grow. Dr. Chantel Dodson at Astellas puts it bluntly, the collective and growing body of data for Xtandi continues to reinforce its long-term efficacy and patient impact in prostate cancer, including in the metastatic setting, and shows that Xtandi is changing the trajectory of those living with the disease. But can that trajectory change for everyone, or just for those lucky enough to receive the drug? The paradox then is clear. We are witnessing the dawn of a new era in cancer treatment with unprecedented potential. Yet for every story of a life saved, there are questions. Who pays? Who is left out? And how can we ensure that these innovations don't just widen the gap between the world's haves and have-nots? As we reach the end of ASCO 2025, the optimism is undeniable. The list of new studies and promising results seems endless, from Phase 1 breakthroughs in lung cancer to long-term survival benefits in prostate cancer. But looming over every announcement is the unresolved tension between scientific possibility and harsh economic reality. So, where do we go from here? Are we on the brink of a new age in which cancer is finally tamed? Or is the promise of these miracle drugs destined to remain just out of reach for most? In the next part, we'll explore the high-stakes debate over drug pricing, access, and the hard choices facing patients, doctors, and policymakers. Are disruptive business models, AI, or global health initiatives the key to democratizing these miracle treatments? Or will innovation itself become the biggest barrier of all? Stay tuned. As the echoes of ASCO 2025's landmark breakthroughs reverberate through the global oncology community, we find ourselves standing at a crossroads, one pointing toward a future brimming with hope and scientific possibility, the other marked by widening rifts in access, infrastructure, and affordability. We've seen how new drugs like Trodelvy, Keytruda, and Xtandi are rewriting cancer survival statistics. But the question lingers: will these miracles be available for everyone, or only the privileged few? Let's look ahead. Imagine, just a few years from now, precision oncology powered by artificial intelligence isn't the exception, it's the norm. Your doctor doesn't just see a diagnosis of breast or prostate cancer. AI rapidly cross-references your genetic code, lifestyle, tumor characteristics, and even data from millions of similar patients worldwide. Within hours, you're matched with a personalized, biomarker-guided therapy, perhaps an ADC immunotherapy cocktail, tailored just for you. Long hospital stays? Maybe not. Outpatient administration, supported by real-world safety data like that for Yescarta, becomes standard, reducing hospital burden and letting patients recover at home. But here's the catch. This high-tech future won't be achieved evenly. Wealthy hospitals in urban centers might race ahead, equipped with the latest diagnostic tools, AI systems, and multifaceted biomarker panels. But what happens in smaller towns, or in countries where medical budgets are tight, where even basic chemotherapy is still rationed? Experts at ASCO are keenly aware of this divide. As Dr. Sarah Tallaney puts it, these results are an important advancement, but we must ensure they reach the patients who need them most, not just those with the best insurance or who live near major cancer centers. Economics sits at the heart of the problem. Developing a new, targeted cancer drug typically costs billions of dollars, much of it recouped through high launch prices. These prices reflect not just the cost of research, but the gamble of clinical failure. The result? Therapies that can extend life by years, but with price tags, often in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per patient, that are out of reach for most health systems, never mind individuals. Now multiply that by the rush of new therapies coming down the pipeline. In 2025 alone, Pfizer plans to begin up to 9 pivotal phase 3 cancer trials. Each new drug represents hope, but also a new cost. It's little wonder that policy debates at ASCO and in parliaments worldwide are increasingly focused on not just innovation, but sustainability. What are the possible futures? Let's consider 3 scenarios. First, the status quo. The gap between haves and have-nots continues. New life-saving therapies are celebrated, but only a fraction of patients receive them. Cancer mortality trends improve in wealthy countries, but stagnate or worsen elsewhere. Frustration grows, and so does mistrust in the very institutions meant to heal. Second, a regulatory and payer-driven backlash. Governments, facing unsustainable costs, start rejecting or severely restricting high-priced drugs. Negotiations stall, launches are delayed, patients lose access, and innovation slows as companies reconsider investing in risky, expensive clinical trials. Hope dims. Or third, a different path, one where the world learns from both its triumphs and shortfalls. Industry, governments, and payers work together on creative solutions. What might this look like? One answer could be value-based pricing. Drugs are paid for based on their real-world outcomes. If a new therapy doesn't work as promised, the manufacturer refunds some of the cost. This arrangement, already being tested in some countries, encourages companies to focus on genuine breakthroughs and lets payers share risk. Another is global trial networks and knowledge-sharing platforms. Clinical trials, once silos of proprietary data, become more collaborative. Results and best practices flow quickly to clinics worldwide, making it easier and cheaper to validate new therapies across diverse populations. Technology, too, can be a great leveler. Telemedicine and AI-driven decision support could bring world-class expertise to rural clinics. Real-world data shows that outpatient administration of complex treatments, like Yescarta for lymphoma, can be safe and cost-effective. Imagine this scaling up, freeing up hospital resources for patients who truly need intensive care. Some companies are experimenting with sliding-scale pricing. Higher-income countries pay more, subsidizing lower prices in less wealthy regions, echoing the model used for HIV antiretrovirals. It's controversial, but it's worked before. But even with such measures, tough questions remain. Should every country aspire to offer the very latest therapies to every citizen, no matter the cost? Or are there smarter ways to allocate limited resources? For the individual viewer, here's what this complex reality means. The pace of innovation in oncology is breathtaking, but patients and their advocates need to be proactive, not passive. Here are concrete lessons and actions you can take. If you or a loved one faces cancer, learn about clinical trials. New therapies, like those highlighted at ASCO, often enter the real world first via trials. Sometimes, enrolling is the only way to access a cutting-edge treatment before it's widely available. Major cancer centers, and now increasingly even regional hospitals, have trial navigators who can help guide you. Stay informed about the drugs and diagnostic tools available in your region. The ASCO conference isn't just for doctors. Advocacy groups, journalists, and nonprofits increasingly provide accessible summaries of new breakthroughs and what's coming soon. Knowledge is power. The more patients know, the more they can ask for the most effective and appropriate care. Support organizations that champion equitable access to care. This might be through donations, volunteering, or simply advocating for policy change. Remember, the pricing and approval of new cancer therapies are shaped not just by corporations and regulators, but by public pressure. If you're in a position to influence healthcare policy, push for reforms that incentivize both innovation and accessibility. This means streamlining regulatory approvals for generics and biosimilars, encouraging real-world value-based assessments of new treatments, and demanding transparency from both insurers and pharmaceutical firms. For healthcare professionals, the take-home message is that the treatment landscape is changing, fast. Keep up with the latest ASCO updates, invest in biomarker and genomic testing infrastructure, and use digital platforms to connect your patients to clinical trials and expert second opinions. The future of cancer care is collaborative and data-driven. But perhaps the most powerful lesson is this: no one person or group can solve the cancer access crisis alone. The last decades have shown that extraordinary things happen when medicine, government, industry, and patient voices come together. The same holds true today. Dr. Andrew Armstrong, reflecting on the improvements in prostate cancer survival, put it this way: with advancements in initial treatment intensification, we're changing the standard. Now it's about making sure the standard applies to everyone. So, can miracle drugs ever truly become accessible for all? The answer is yes, but only if we treat access as seriously as innovation. Policy and pricing reforms, smarter trial designs, the use of technology to bridge distances, and a relentless focus on equity can ensure that advancements at conferences like ASCO are not just headlines but lifelines shared across continents. Here's the secret most people miss. The biggest breakthroughs in cancer aren't always in the molecules themselves. Sometimes the real miracle is in the system, when the right drug meets the right patient at the right time, regardless of geography or income. That's when statistics become stories of survival. As new trials, drugs, and diagnostic tools continue to emerge, the choices we make, as citizens, as advocates, as leaders, will shape whether the promise of ASCO 2025 is realized everywhere or only somewhere. Now it's your turn. Share this video if you believe in a future where cutting-edge cancer care knows no borders. Like and subscribe to stay updated on the real stories behind medical headlines. And let us know in the comments, what would you do to make miracle cancer therapies accessible